الآن يمكنكم المشاركة في مبادرة الأيام الرقمية تحت شعار انطلق بقوة مع جوجل، والتي يتناول فيها خبراء جوجل عناوين جديدة أسبوعيا مثل السحابيات، مهارات من جوجل، أندرويد، فلتر، ذكاء الآلة، فايربيس، ديزاين ثينكينج، مقسمة إلى دورات وورشات عمل يومية بالإضافة إلى مسابقات أسبوعية. شاهد الأيام الرقمية مباشرة على اليوتيوب وشارك رأيك وأسئلتك مع خبراء جوجل، واحصل على شهادة حضور في كل محاضرة تشترك فيها. هذا وأكثر من الأحد إلى الخميس ابتداء من الساعة 9 بتوقيت دبي عبر الرابط المبين youtube.com/gdgmena.
Hi everyone, marhaba. I hope you're all doing great. Thank you all for being here. Today, I'll be presenting to you our webinar focusing on how to grow your apps business to the next level with Google AdMob. To introduce myself, my name is Sherif. I work with the Google AdMob team, and we help app developers across different regions grow their business and their ads revenue with Google AdMob. I'll be your host today. We have a very packed agenda, so I'm hoping to get started with it. By the way, I cover a few regions, including MENA, but also France and Spain. So hopefully I'll be able to adapt some tips from different regions, but also focusing on MENA in today's presentation. So without further ado, let's get started. So like I said, there's a lot of things that I'd like to cover with you today, mostly focusing on how you can maximize your app revenue with a better, smarter ad platform that is Google AdMob. We'll be covering three main topics, from how to maximize your ads revenue from any demand source, how to grow your overall business, and finally, how to deliver a world-class app experience, which is ultimately the goal of any app developer. So let's get started. But before we dive deeper into the agenda today, I'm hoping to get some market insights and share them with you with a focus specifically on non-gaming apps. And the reason why I chose non-gaming apps today, because mostly people tend to think about gaming when it comes to ad monetization. However, that's a myth that I'm hoping we will be able to bust by the end of this presentation. And this is just some insights around non-gaming apps. But of course, today's presentation will be focused on both gaming and non-gaming. So all the tips can be applied to any app, whether gaming or non-gaming. So let's start by jumping into some top grossing non-gaming apps. As we can see from the table that we have presented in front of us today, between 2013 and 2018, we can see that there's a growth of around 430% in the last 5 years when it comes to non-gaming apps. And as a matter of fact, many of these top grossing apps are funded by subscription, but also ad revenue, which is a really important aspect to consider. So let's take a step back and see deeper what this industry holds. So as mentioned, again, there's been around 430% in terms of growth rate in the last 5 years when we take a look at non-gaming apps specifically. So it grew, when we talk about revenue, it grew from 3.7 billion to around 19.7 billion in just 5 short years, which is incredible. And this not only shows the potential that non-gaming has, but also it shows us the overall app industry, how it's growing and its trajectory moving forward. Again, here, still focusing on non-gaming apps, we see that 76% of non-gaming app revenue comes from ads. Again, this is a very big myth in the industry that a lot of app developers might have, or a lot of people in the industry, or just regular people using apps, is that they think that ads is only focused on gaming apps, and non-gaming apps generally just have in-app purchases or subscription and so on. However, 76% of non-gaming app revenue comes from ads. And this is a very important thing, because in terms of how we diversify revenues, ads represent a very important piece of it. And our goal here today is in no way to cannibalize what we speak about when it comes to in-app purchases or subscription. On the contrary, it's all about finding the sweet spot or the optimal point when we talk about a mix of ad monetization, in-app purchases, and subscription. So just to recap, advertising is like you all may know, an important driver of revenue for both gaming and non-gaming apps. So here it would just be to recap what some common monetization strategies are when we talk about apps businesses in general. You might know them, so I'll quickly go through them briefly. So we have ads only. Some apps, whether we're talking about non-gaming or gaming, decide to only focus on ad monetization. So in that case, all of the content of the app would be available for free, and developers would earn revenue by displaying different ads and different ad types, which we'll look at later on in the presentation. The second monetization strategy that you could have is a freemium model, which can still be monetized with ads, but also will have some premium features in the app that would be locked and ultimately unlocked upon conducting a purchase. So a user would buy and then get access to these premium services. We also have a subscription model where users would pay a subscription fee on a recurring basis in order to gain some additional content or premium features. And finally, we have the hybrid model, which is a very interesting model that is being more and more adopted in all of the industry, whether we're talking about gaming or non-gaming, where developers would use a combination of strategies and mix between monetizing users with in-app purchases or subscription, but also monetizing non-paying users with ads, which is, and by the way, non-paying users tend to be a very important percentage of the user base. And we'll also take a deeper look at on that later on in the presentation. So let's get started. I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation that we'd have three main buckets, and the first one would be how to maximize ads revenue from any demand source. So let's get started. As you can see here, I'll briefly touch base on what is Google AdMob. So Google AdMob is both a monetization platform, but also an ad monetization network. So you can use Google AdMob as a platform, as a centralized platform to conduct all of your ad strategy, but you can also simply use Google's demand as a network. Some interesting data points when it comes to Google AdMob is that there's more than 1 million applications monetizing with AdMob at the moment. AdMob's network and all of AdMob's ads represent a very high eCPM, but also high quality ads that are non-intrusive and really wary of the user experience and ensure a good user experience, which is, of course, something that everyone is wary of, is how to make sure that we maintain the best retention possible, the best user experience, while also making sure that we maximize our monetization. And the last point is you'll be able to benefit from Google's automation system while you maintain full control of the process. And I think this is a very important topic that we should touch base on. As you know, there's so many different things that you can leverage when we talk about automation and artificial intelligence. And all of these are put in use and are available for you to use freely on the Google AdMob platform. And we'll also touch base on that later on, and you'll be able to see how you can leverage this automation process, but while you maintain full control and decide what you want to show, when you want to show it, and to who you want to show it. Great, so now that we touched base on Google's demand, I'll briefly recap as well. Google's demand is one of the largest pool of advertisers competing for your ad inventory in real time. So as a matter of fact, there's more than 20 billion app installs from 2015 to February 2020 that have come directly from Google's demand. And Google's demand encompasses different range of Google solutions, whether we're talking about Google Ads, whether we're talking about unique app campaign, install campaigns, YouTube, and so on and so forth. And all of these different things are what encompass the large pool of advertisers that are coming to Google and directly competing for your inventory in real time to provide you with the best CPMs possible. Great, so now that we've touched base on Google's demand, let's see what the platform offers and what kind of formats you can monetize with Google's demand. So there's a broad range of formats, some of which you'll see are present in different platforms and that are non-exclusive to Google, but other formats, such as the new formats that we'll touch base on later on, that are exclusive to Google AdMob. So as you know, there might be banner ads, native ads, interstitial ads, rewarded ads, and finally the new formats. So let's dive a bit deeper into each of them. So as you know, banner ads are generally the ads that are placed on the top or on the bottom of the screen, and they're some sort of rectangle where they generate constant impressions and are there most of the time, depending on your strategy, where you place them and how often you decide to refresh them. However, here I'd like to touch base on an AdMob specific format that is great in terms of user experience, and I think that a lot of the developers watching here could be interested by it. And this is called specifically adaptive banners. So adaptive banners is a specific type of banners that tends to adapt itself to the different sizes of the devices that users may have. So that's a very important thing, because when we're talking about the user experience, it's very important for the users to be able to see a banner ad or an ad in general that is fitting and integrating properly in the app experience and the app feel and the theme of the app. So the problem that the regular banner ads would have is that sometimes they would be stretched or not appearing clearly when it comes to the user. However, we created adaptive banners, which are banners that would adapt to the different sizes of the screen, different devices. We know that there's so many different devices out there, some that are smaller, some that are bigger, some that are medium sized. So with adaptive banners, you'd be able to monetize and ensure a good user experience where users are seeing a clean ad, but that has really good CPM. And as a matter of fact, the difference in terms of CPM or cost per mil, so the revenue coming from 1,000 impressions from these banners, is about 20% higher when we take a look at adaptive banners compared to regular banners. And again, this is an AdMob specific format that you wouldn't be able to find elsewhere, but that is still very easy to implement and very easy to integrate within your app. So now that we've spoken about banners, let's take a look at another really interesting format called native ads. So whether we're talking here again about non-gaming or gaming apps, but here I'll touch base on non-gaming apps. Native ads are a great way to really integrate these ads beautifully within the theme and the look of your app. So let me explain. Basically, native ads enable you to render the size of the space or of the inventory as you please. So you can basically design it to match the look and feel of your app. You can design it within a scrollable feed. You can design it as similar to a button that you may have, or a content that you may have within the app, and make sure that it fits within the look and the feel of the app. So as a result, users will see clean ads that are well integrated and directly within the feed of the app. And that would ensure that CPMs are high, but also the click-through rate is high, but ultimately as well that it's well integrated within the app and it's not intrusive at all. So users will actually not, it won't lower the user experience. It won't make it worse. On the contrary, if we design them in a way, and if you design them in a way that you think is best, you will be able to get some good results out of it. And something that I want to mention here is that ultimately, what we need to know when it comes to monetization is that there's no one-size-fits-all solution. Every app is different, every category is different, every user base is different. That's why the most important thing in order to maximize your monetization while making sure that you have a good user experience is to test. So run as many A/B tests as you want. And as a matter of fact, with Firebase and AdMob, we'll touch base on that later on, but you can A/B test, for example, in this case, different native sizes, different colors, different placements to make sure that you are maximizing your returns. So here we have on that slide some best practices when it comes to native ads. So some larger native designs can result in higher CPMs and as a result, higher revenues. But also a good tip here would be if you have a scrollable list, try to integrate some native ads seamlessly within the list. As users scroll, they'll be able to see a clean ad that might interest them, and ultimately they'll click on it. Enabling video, of course, is a great way to maximize your inventory and as a result, your earnings. And also when we talk about the density and the frequency of native ads, as mentioned before, since they are fitting very, very seamlessly within your app, you can allow yourself to be a bit more aggressive when it comes to the density or the frequency of these native ads, since they're not hurtful for the user experience. And they are less intrusive in a way. So this is an example of a news publisher that integrated native ads. And again, here I'm taking the example of non-gaming, but If you find ways to implement native in a gaming context, this can also be applied. But let's stick to that example here that we have on the screen. Native ads, as you can see, they allow publishers to show non-intrusive yet visible ads for users as they scroll through the content. So it's very seamlessly integrated. There's a small button mentioning that it's an ad to make it clear for the user and ensure ultimately good user experience, but also good revenues. Great. So now that we've spoken about banner ads and native ads, let's talk about the bigger types of ads that we have. So now we'll touch base on interstitial ads, which are full screen ads with static or video creatives. So whether we're talking about text, image, or video creatives. These ads are really popular in different types of applications, whether, again, we're talking about gaming or non-gaming. But the tip here is really to always show them in a point of transition. So between two screens, in order to minimize the disruption for your user base, while at the same time maximizing your monetization. So here are some examples of what interstitials look like. We have 3 examples. I won't take too much time on the screen, but as you see, they're very clean, very good quality interstitials. You'll see a close button very clearly, or a small or a cross button that is clear to the user, that makes sense, and then is very intuitive. So if the user is not interested in clicking, you know that they won't be clicking. Great. So now we'll touch base on some best practices when it comes to interstitial ads. So like I said before, interstitial ads are best in terms of performance when they're placed at a natural break or a natural transition within your app's interface. So in a gaming context, let's say after a user level is completed, but let's say in a non-gaming context, imagine we're talking about an audio and music app. If the user, say, is downloading a certain audio, when the user is done downloading it, considering we will show them another screen later on, let's say with a confirmation, that would be a great point in the application to show an interstitial. You can, of course, consider frequency, and this is very important. And again, this you can A/B test to really minimize the disruption for the user. So let's say you don't know how many interstitials to show your users in a session. Well, you can A/B test it. Who knows if it's 1 or if it's 2 per session? Nobody can really predict it. And like I said, no app is similar to the other. So that's why test is the answer here. And then you'd be able to cap it very, very intuitively within the Admob user interface by limiting, let's say, 1 or 2 interstitials per minute, hour, or day, depending on your strategy. Now we'll talk about rewarded ads, which are starting to be more widely seen as the solution to a big advertising strategy, let's say. So rewarded ads, again, are mostly known for gaming, but this is a very big myth. And we'll see how they can be really well integrated in a non-gaming context. So, yeah, there we go. Cool. So Google's rewarded ad revenue, Google rewarded ad formats are, as I said, non-intrusive. So they're technically 30 seconds, but users do have the option to opt out or close them at any point in time. And remembering that rewarded ads are chosen voluntarily by the user. So let me take a step back here. You'll have a button on the app or on the game saying, hey, get a reward by clicking here. The user would click and then the video would start. And it's 30 seconds, but they do have the option to opt out at any point in time. So in terms of user experience, it's very intuitive. It's you know that they're choosing voluntarily to see it. And ultimately, you're just extending their attention and they're staying longer in the app. And let's see how. So when it comes to gaming or non-gaming, here again, we're taking a non-gaming example simply because that tends to be a myth and that I'd like to bust ultimately. But let me share some myths that come around pretty often when it comes to rewarded ads, and I'd like to bust them here with you live. So the first one being rewarded ads will negatively impact the user experience. How are we busting it? Well, it's pretty much the contrary of that, and they actually enhance the user experience. So Around June 2018, OpenX actually surveyed US mobile users and found that about 70% had watched an opt-in or a rewarded video ad in the past. So out of those, about 80% of the respondents said that they prefer rewarded video ad experience to other traditional types of ads. And let me tell you why. So imagine we're in a gaming context and you have some locked features. So let's say either subscription or a paid feature in the app. Now, you are here focusing on the users that either have the capacity to pay or want to pay or are used to pay. However, there's a big part of users that do not want to pay or are just not used to paying, and they prefer to not to jump the waters just directly. So rewarded ads are a great way to get users to, first of all, experience your premium features for free just by watching a video. And by the way, rewarded ads have the highest CPM of all formats, and they're a great way to monetize. So users will try it for free, and then ultimately imagine that they love it and they do have the capacity to pay, they will end up paying and they will subscribe or they will conduct the in-app purchase. So it's a great way to give them a taste, to give the users a taste of what it's like to be premium, a premium user, completely for free. And as a matter of fact, when users, in the user psychology, when they see monetary value, so let's say I will be able to unlock this feature for, let's say, $2. But at the same time, they have the option to get it for free by watching a video, they will be more excited for that. And ultimately, they'll watch the video, they'll consume the gift or the reward, and they'll be more content and stay longer in the app because they used it for free. So the second myth that I was just mentioning is that rewards will ruin the in-game economy, and they will exert inflationary pressure on the game currency and cannibalize in-app purchase. While on the contrary, like I said, they just complement it. And an interesting data point here is that users who engage with rewarded ads are 4.5 times more likely to conduct an in-app purchase. And this was a study conducted by Tapjoy. And lastly, the third myth that I'd like to bust is that rewarded ads only work for games. This is completely not true. We're seeing more and more app verticals introducing rewarded ads such as news, media, educational, music, social. The sky's the limit when it comes to rewarded. And like I said before, if you're not sure how to implement them, at what time in the app to implement them, the only solution is to test. So run as many tests as you can on a small cohort of your users, look at the data points, look at the results, and then take a decision. So in this screen, like you can see, this is an example of a non-gaming app. So it's a file sharing app. And let's say here, they have a locked category with unlimited file sharing. But in order to unlock it, users either have to pay or to watch a rewarded video. And by watching a rewarded video, they'll be able to unlock that feature for, let's say, 1 day. And again, that duration you can A/B test. So there's three kind of main points when it comes to rewarded. They are valuable, they're instant, and they should be rewatchable as well. So valuable means have a monetary value and then present it for free for users who do not want to pay. Instant, so they'll immediately get access, of course, to the gift or the reward. And rewatchable, so you can obviously cap it and put a limit to the amount of rewarded ads that you want the users to see. But of course, you have to give them kind of a chance to use as many rewards as possible in order to maximize their value and be content. Great. So now that we covered this section, I'd like to show you an example, which is a case study. And this is an app called Play-Doh. It's a games and group chat application. And they implemented, like you can see on the screen, both native and rewarded ads in their chat app. And this is, again, a non-gaming app, but they implemented an in-app currency. They complemented it with rewarded. Note that they also have in-app purchases and also showing native ads. Great. So now that we touched base on the four kind of bread and butter formats, as we like to call them, now we'll touch base on some new formats that are Google AdMob exclusive that can be very interesting, both in a gaming and non-gaming context. These are app open ads and rewarded interstitials. So app open ads are a great way for you to monetize and maximize the value of every single user that you have by showing a very beautifully integrated ad format when the user is opening the app. So this can be implemented in two ways. Either, let's say, on cold start, so when the user first opens the app, or when bringing the app from the background to the foreground. It can automatically be seen. And as you can see on the screen, they have 15% of the screen to continue within the app. And this is obviously reserved to your app logo, your app name. And 85% of the screen is the advertisement. So in this case, you'll be able to make sure that you are maximizing the value of your users while not hurting their user experience, because you're not showing them an intrusive ad format, rather a format that is made to be on first open, when the user first opens the app. And of course, you can include some cappings here if you want to limit the number of times that you show this app open, if you want to only show it on cold start, or if you only want to show it on return. And of course, within the code, you can limit it to only show it to users upon the second open of the app or third open, if you don't want to show it when users first download the app, which is, of course, something that is recommended. This is another new format that we have called Rewarded Interstitial. It's also AdMob exclusive. And this format enables you to offer in-app rewards, so similar to a rewarded, but in the same logic as an interstitial, in the sense that there is no user opt-in to prompt the video ad, but it is pushed to the user automatically. So as you can see in that example here we're in a game context. Imagine a user lost the level and has no more lives. Upon losing the level, they will be prompted with a pop-up saying, hey, you don't have any more lives left. Watch this video and get 3 extra lives for free. So automatically the video will start to play. However, they do have the option to opt out at any point in time. And this has a lot of benefits because some users are not used to rewarded ads or are a bit wary. So this is a great way to push them a little bit to try it out. And in a non-gaming context, this can be similarly applied. So let's say you have some, if we're talking about a sports course application, if there are certain classes or courses on the app that are premium or exclusive, when a user clicks on a locked class or a premium class, we can immediately show them the prompt saying, hey, this is a premium class. Watch this video to unlock it for 10 minutes. 30 minutes, 1 hour, whatever it is, or 1 day. So this you can A/B test as well. Now that we've spoken about all of the different formats, it's very important to talk about ad frequency. So ad frequency is basically how many times we show an ad per user session. And that is a great and very important way to kind of picture it. So here we have on the left side of that graph, ARPDAU, which is the average revenue per daily active user. On the bottom, we have ads per session or ad density. And on the right side, we have percentage retention. So as you can see where we have that blue square, this is the sweet spot that every single app developer should opt for when it comes to monetization or ad revenue. Because this is the parallel that we'll do between, first of all, making sure that we have good user experience. We're not hurting the user experience. We're not overwhelming them with ads. But at the same time, we're maximizing our ad potential. And you'll ask me, how can we do this? How can we know what that sweet spot is? Well, the answer is, like I mentioned before, test, test, test. So that's the only way that you'll find what's the perfect ad frequency for your users per session. And you can do so very easily within AdMob and with the help of Firebase if you use Firebase, or with any other A/B testing tool. So now that we've spoken about all the different formats, all the ad frequency logics, and the market insights, let's take a look at mediation and bidding. You might be familiar with these concepts, but if you're not, I'll do a quick recap of what they are. So mediation and bidding are the only way for you to increase your monetization, to increase your CPMs, while at the same time keeping the same ad formats that you already have. So we're not changing anything in terms of user experience. What we're doing is that we're only putting the ad space up for competition. So that means that instead of having just one network provider, we are having multiple network providers that are competing for your ad space. And the highest CPM possible will be the winner of that auction. So just to give you a recap, of course, on the Admob platform, you'll be able to use Admob Mediation. And as a matter of fact, Admob Mediation has been outperforming competition in head-to-head tests in terms of CPMs, 37% higher CPMs when we conducted a test against one of our competitors, and 23% higher in terms of overall revenue. So like I said, these services or these features will enable you to maximize your ad revenue from any demand source. So the first one is mediation, the second one is bidding, and third one, you'll be able to access exclusive Google demand. So as mentioned before, mediation basically enables you to maximize your match rate and your revenue by choosing the best performing ad partner from around the world. So here we're not limiting it just to Admob or one specific network. We're really putting your platform and your ad space up for competition. So it's really the easiest way for you to maximize your revenue so you can really focus on developing your app. And this is what the Admob platforms enables you to do. So you'll be able to have more revenue for your current existing inventory while benefiting from real-time CPMs from Admob, advanced features, more control and efficiency with managing different mediation groups and full automation processes. So by the way, if there's any of these topics that you'd like to explore more, everything is out there. I'll share some resources at the end of the presentation today, but on the Admob Help Center, you have tremendous amount of resources. On our YouTube channel, you'll be able to deep dive into any of these features that I'm mentioning here today. So the Admob Mediation platform, of course, has support for all of the major formats, and you'll be able to seamlessly place your ad space up for competition and get more networks in addition to Admob to compete for your ad space. On the Admob platform, we have integration and support with more than 30 different networks from around the world, such as, just to name a few, AppLovin, AdColony, Facebook, Audience Network, InMobi, Fiber, and so on and so forth, Mopub, Unity, ironSource. It's really a large list that every single developer will benefit from, because ultimately what you're doing is just that you're ensuring that you are getting the highest CPM possible for your ad space. And imagine you are interested in partnering up with another network that is not in this list. That's not an issue. We also have support for more than 70 other networks via what we call a custom adapter. So to give you some insights into how mediation works, this is what we call a mediation waterfall or a mediation stack, where you'd have different networks in a waterfall style, and you will select a minimum CPM for each of these different networks. And ultimately what the system will do is that it will waterfall these different networks and ask them, hey, can you comply with the minimum CPM that is being asked for? If they give more, then the competition will keep on running, and ultimately you'll be able to benefit from the highest CPM possible. In this case, as you can see, there were many different networks that were just offering around $3, $1, but the winner was, in this example, of course, the Admob network with around $5. On the Admob platform, an interesting piece is that you'll be able to benefit from dynamic reordering, or what we call ad network optimization, which will enable the system to automatically reorder your waterfall in order to place the best performing networks historically on the top of the waterfall. Some good insights that you'll be interested in is that all of the adapters that are used on the Admob platform are open source and versioned adapters. So they're very easy to integrate just with 2 simple line of codes. They are versioned, so we keep updating them to ensure the best quality possible. They're fast and very flexibly integrated within your app, and all of the onboarding is made very easily. So you have step-by-step documentation on our developer website, on the Help Center, and on our YouTube page. Another interesting piece is that the AdMob platforms enables you to call multiple times each of the networks with a different minimum CPM floor. And that way you can also ensure that you are maximizing your chances of getting the highest CPM possible. This is just a quick case study with MediaSeek, which is a mobile app developer that provides different tools and has users, more than 29 million users across the world. Their challenge is that they needed a reliable mediation platform that will provide higher fill rates, but also higher revenues. They implemented or adopted the Admob Mediation platform, and as a result, they had twice the growth in revenues, 3 to 5 times the growth in CPMs, and all of that with a stable 100% fill rate. Great. So now that we talked about traditional mediation, let's touch base on bidding. So bidding is basically the same concept as we've just spoken about. However, all of the different networks will compete in real time for your inventory. So remember, in the previous example that I've given, you have to set a minimum eCPM floor every time. Here, every single network is competing in real time, and we will offer you the best CPM possible. So as you can see in this example, we are asking network A, B, and C, hey, what is the best CPM that you can give me for that specific impression, for that specific format, for that specific user at that point in time? And we are offering you the best CPM possible. And that bidding solution is available on AdMob with a very large list of networks that we'll cover later today. So bidding, as mentioned, it helps you get the most value for your ads. It's very easy to integrate, even easier in some situations than regular mediation. It's a simpler concept simply because there's no minimum CPMs to put, there's no waterfall to take care of. It's fully automated by the system, and you now already have access to it on the Admob platform. You have fewer SDKs to implement. It's very easily, you can easily test it. It's easily set up. Like I said, no need to manage any waterfalls, any minimum eCPMs, and you'll benefit from unified reporting on Admob. We have a very large list of partners already available on our bidding solutions, such as AppLovin, AdColony, Facebook Audience Network, Tapjoy, so on and so forth. Some with and some without SDK. So if you're worried about your app size, do not worry about that. We also have support with some SDK-less networks where you'll be able to integrate them very seamlessly within the Admob user interface with no SDK change. This is an example also of a case study where Cook Apps was able to increase their ad revenue and CPM by around 26% while maintaining a steady fill rate and IAP revenues with bidding. You can use both bidding and Admob mediation in tandem at the same time if that's something that interests you. And we have support, of course, for all of these different networks, and they're made to be used at the same time if you're interested in having a more complex setup. You can, of course, test your setup very easily and your integration pre-launching your setup with the mediation test suite, and also with Ad Inspector with no code. Simply by shaking your device, you'll be able to get a sense of whether or not your setup is working. With these additional dimensions that you'll be able to benefit from within your Admob user interface, you'll be able to see which types of ads have also been served. There's another great feature on the Admob platform, which is A/B testing. So if you're not sure which networks to use, which CPMs to put, and you want to make sure that you are you're taking the right decision, directly on the Admob platform, you'll be able to see the A/B testing feature, which enables you to split your traffic with no code change and compare different setups. So let's say different CPMs, a combination of traditional waterfall with bidding or bidding only, very easy to use and also available only on Admob. Perfect. So now that we've spoken about how you can maximize your ad revenue from any demand source, let's talk about how you can grow your overall business. So like I mentioned before, a very interesting data point is that in the average app, around 96% of users will never spend on in-app purchase. And that is a very interesting insight, because a lot of developers, like I said, only focus on in-apps, while the logic should be behind diversifying and making sure that we are not ignoring any users that come to our app. This is a great example of how our smart platform can help you make the most out of every single user that you have coming to your app. So this is an example called, or this is a feature called Smart Segmentation. And Smart Segmentation is a feature that relies on Google's machine learning model, where the model will be able to segment your different users based on their purchasing behavior. So let's say you have some users that historically tend to purchase when it comes to apps and others who never purchase. They are known non-purchasers. So the machine learning model will be able to segment them, and you will be able to show a different ad experience to each of these users. So let's take that example that we have here on the screen. This is just an example of a regular user journey within an app, a gaming app. So in this case, let's say you don't want to hurt the user experience and you decide, hey, I'm not going to put any ad for all my user base. Well, smart segmentation comes in here because if the system knows that this is a non-purchaser, a user that will just never buy in your app, you can show them and only them a specific ad unit, whether we're talking about interstitial or rewarded. And that way you'll make sure that you're maximizing the value for all of your different users. And in that case, for your potential payers, we are not hurting the user experience and not showing them any ad. This is just an interesting quote from the head of monetization over at Game Inside. She said, we've been looking for a way to improve our non-spender monetization, and smart segmentation helped us personalize ad monetization for non-paying players automatically. We loved how convenient it was, and it was the best part that it didn't hurt IAP revenue. And like I said, it's completely automated. What you have to do is simply create a smart segmentation ad unit, and it will automatically just be shown for your non-purchasers. So that way you can rest assured that you are maximizing the value out of every single user. Great. Now, like I said before, testing is a very important part of monetization. And with Firebase, which is another Google product that I'm sure many of you are familiar with, you can seamlessly run tests with both AdMob and Firebase together. So here are some of the features that Firebase enables you to do, such as authentication, cloud functions, Crashlytics, Test Lab, A/B testing, of course, remote config, which helps you push changes to the users with no with no app update requested. You have access to analytics, cloud messaging, so on and so forth. So all of these different features are there and are present within Firebase, but also by integrating both AdMob and Firebase, you'll be able to seamlessly run tests for your monetization to find that sweet spot that we were talking about earlier on in the presentation. It's very easy. What you have to do is just update the SDKs, link your Firebase project to AdMob, and that's it. You're done. Sit back and start enjoying all of the data and all of the interesting features that you'll have access to. Like I said before, Firebase will help you drive a smarter monetization by you can do A/B tests, you can use predictions to try to predict the purchasing behavior of your users. You can also use smart segmentation, of course, that's on AdMob, but prediction is a bit more pushed, more advanced. And finally, remote config. Now that we've spoken about how you can grow your overall business, now let's touch base on how you can deliver a world-class app experience and make sure that it's a clean app with clean ads that are that is helpful for your users, but also that your users can just enjoy. So on the AdMob platform and with Google's demand, you'll be able to have not only ad quality, because that is at the center of our business, just making sure that we are showing the right ads and doing the right thing, both for our advertisers, our users, and our developers. But also you'll be able to benefit from a lighter workload. And I'll explain how later on. So we'll be able to do all of the heavy lifting for you, and you'll just sit back and relax. So as mentioned before, there are many bad ads when it comes to the industry. And some bad ads can just be caused by some crashes or the App Store opening unpromptedly or some bad content or some tracking and malware. And if that happens, what you'll be able to do is very seamlessly check it out in the Ad Review Center. So the Ad Review Center is another section in the AdMob platform where you can review and stop any ad that has been shown in your app that you do not want to show anymore. Whether we're talking about an ad, a bad ad, like I mentioned before, or just simply an ad that does not fit with the context of your app or your users or your country. So in the sense that if your app is a let's say a religious app and you don't want to show any gaming content, you can easily block the whole category or block the ads as soon as they're shown. So as you can see here on the screen, very easily with a simple screenshot or an image of that ad that has been shown in your app, you can upload it and it will be immediately surfaced and you'll be able to block it directly in the app. And in the Ad Review Center, of course, you'll see all of the ads that have been shown. You can review them, see where they're coming from, what link they're leading towards, they're leading the users to, and so on and so forth. As mentioned, you have the ad blocking controls section in the AdMob platform, which enables you to block or adopt, let's say, any certain category. So let's say we have general categories, sensitive categories, app install ads, so many different things that you'll have access to directly in your blocking control section. So let's say you want to block an entire category, you can do this directly. And we even have filtered sensitive categories that if you want to drill down deeper into these categories and either remove or allow some of these wanted or unwanted categories. This can also be done, of course, on an account level by leveraging the blocking control. So you can block for all of your AdMob account if you have different apps. Or you can also do it, of course, on an app level. So all of these different things that I just mentioned, you'll be able to monitor on an app level. So if you just want to block certain categories or certain ads in one app, or if you want to do it for your whole account. So this is a great way really to make sure that you are delivering a world-class app experience with a clean user interface, something just that will help you rest assured that you have the full control while all of the automation system that we have in the backend is helping you reach your goals. And you can also benefit from, of course, that additional revenue stream and those good reviews from your users because the ads that you're showing are clean. So that takes me to the end of the content of today's presentation. I highly encourage all of you to check out our global AdMob events and videos. So we do so many events that you can watch already on demand or register for upcoming ones on admobonair.withgoogle.com. You have access to webinars in different languages or in English, focusing on AdMob, on Firebase, on specific features within AdMob. So let's say mediation and bidding, if you want to deep dive into it, or rewarded for non-gaming or rewarded for gaming, or basically anything that is of interest to you. You'll be able to have access to all of these on that website. Or if you want to explore more when it comes to formats, implementations, what a specific feature does, how you can use it, and so on, highly recommend you to leverage the YouTube channel that we have on youtube.com/admob. So that takes me to the end of the presentation. Thank you so much to everybody. I'll quickly check if there's any questions that are needed to answer right now. So I'll do that right now. So we have a question from Yamama Jaradat. What are the best ad formats and monetization models for content platform? So I'm not really sure what you mean exactly by content platform, if you could develop more, but generally speaking, there's no, like I said, there's no one size fits all solution. It really depends on your business model, on your strategy, and on your users. So you can try to integrate different formats. Generally speaking, a mix is the best thing that you could do. So let's say when the user first opens the app, you can show them an app open. You can place a banner where you have some space either on top or on the bottom of the screen. If you have a list where users can scroll, just think about native. If you have some locked content or you want to provide any coins, think about rewarded. And if you have some transition points, think about interstitials. So it's really a combination that would work best for your app. Okay, we also have another question from Yamama Jaradat. So do we have any numbers from average revenue from in-app ads for non-gaming apps? So that's a great question. There's no specific numbers in terms of average revenue. On the contrary, it really depends on how you integrate your formats and what kind of monetization strategy you adopt. So let's say if you have a big user flow, and by the way, all of the different ads are the same for gaming and non-gaming. It's the same inventory that is coming from Google ultimately. So there's no real differentiation here between gaming and non-gaming apps. But I'm going to follow your question as you asked it. So let's say we're talking about non-gaming apps. If, again, you make sure that you have a great mix of different formats that you are placing in strategic points within your app flow, where you know that users will benefit from them, or in the context of a rewarded, or where you can benefit from them as you place them strategically in a non-intrusive way, like banners or interstitials or app open, so on and so forth. And ultimately, by taking it one step further with, like I mentioned, mediation and bidding, you can maximize your CPMs even more. So that's why it really depends on how developed and how detailed you want to go into your monetization strategy. And of course, testing is just what will top it all up. The more tests you conduct, the more data points you have, and the more sure you will be of your monetization strategy and making sure that you have that sweet spot that we were talking about earlier today. Do we have any other questions here today? Please don't hesitate to pop in your questions in the comment section. We'll be able to take a look at them. I'll be able to answer them live. Okay, so we have another question. So do you have examples for the sweet spot in terms of ad frequency for non-gaming apps? Like, what's the average number of times to show the ad? Again, that's a great question. But like I said, each app is different than the other, and each user base is different. So what I could recommend is always running tests. So nobody can really predict how your users are going to behave. And there's no point in me saying, let's say it's 2 per user session, if in reality it's 1 and it will hurt your user experience. Same way as me saying it's 2, while in reality your users can handle 3 or 4, where you'll be maxing out even more your revenues. So the answer to this would be just run as many tests as you can to make sure that you are finding that sweet spot. We have another question as well from Yazan. What are the network companies' role you mentioned in the ads of an app? So, okay, I'm guessing you're asking about mediation and bidding. So basically, all of these different networks that I mentioned before, you would be able to integrate, first of all, their SDK and their adapter, but also what you'll be able to do is that you'll be able to put your ad space, your ad inventory up for competition, meaning you will not only have Google as the main provider of your ads, but you will have different networks as well that will compete with Google, and the one with the highest CPM possible will win, and their ads will be shown in your app. So each network, of course, has a different pool of ads. The one with the highest CPM possible will win in that case. Okay, we have a lot of questions of how you can contact me. Thank you for your question. Thanks for your interest. On the AdMob account management side of things, If you have certain apps that are eligible for our account management program and our partnership program, we will reach out to you proactively. So as your apps grow and as your revenue streams and your downloads grow, you may hear from us in order if you become eligible for our partnership program and our acceleration program. And on a personal level, don't hesitate to just look me up on LinkedIn and shoot me a connection request. I'm happy to hear from all of you. And if you have any feedback, of course, also send it my way. I appreciate the interest. Thank you. Great. So any last questions? I'll take another minute if there's any questions. And if there's not, that's okay. We can wrap up. Okay, so I don't see any other questions. Okay, no problem then. Thanks, Ahmad. You can find me on LinkedIn. I don't have Twitter. No, but I don't have a Twitter account, but that's a good feedback. Maybe I should consider getting a Twitter account. Thanks, everyone. Okay, great. So it was great to hear from all of you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to the Digital Days team for having me. It's a great way for me to collaborate with all of you and listen to you and also share some interesting insights. I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you all for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thank you all for tuning in. Bye, everyone.